Welcome to a special edition of the Damian G Show. You can find the show on various pod streaming sites. We are now on Apple Podcast, I'm on Stitcher, amongst others. I have a special guest actually today because usually what you guys don't know or may not know about me was I got my start talking sports radio, being trained in New York City under the tutelage of someone who works for NBC Sports Radio. So that was my actual first foray into broadcasting, was sports radio. So it's been a while since I did one of these shows, but if I was going to do it, I was going to do one based on my favorite sport right now, probably over the last few years because of the on the court pageantry of it all. But I wanted to talk more about the NBA offseason and why it's more important to me than Major League Baseball's offseason or entire season and some professional sports leagues in general. And what better way for me to do that than one of my good friends on social media, Mr. Dude Knows Sports. I'm glad he's here because there's someone else beside me who's a suffering Knicks fan that I can talk to about this kind of stuff. Yep. We're starting this podcast off really depressing. So, do you want me to use your actual name on here? Or you can
Yeah.
Sports? Yep. My man Miguel. Yep, Miguel, who I've hung out with at a few wrestling shows. We've been talking for a couple of years. He's one of my more trusted sports fan people I associate with, who isn't just, one of those homers that really like, nah, man, we this and we that. He actually has objective opinions. He's not Joe Blow sports guy, which I appreciate here. So thank you for joining me, brother. And
thank you for that awesome promo. I feel like you're my Paul Heyman.
Hey, man, I am just an advocate. I'm the guy.
Yeah, you brought me hot.
You can bounce around back and forth behind me. That's fine. You can be the Brock Lesnar of NBA. There we go.
Let's do this. How you want to start this off? You want to get the depressing part out of the way about the Knicks, or what do you want?
No, let's lead the audience on some positivity first. So let's be positive.
Okay.
NBA in general. The course of the season, even though it's long, we have now reached the point where I can say, in my own opinion, the NBA offseason is better than any other professional sports league's offseason, even the NFL. Because for years, people had said the NFL is a 365-day a year, a day league for the year. There's always something going on soap opera-wise to draw you in, if it's not the combine, the draft, etc. But I would counter that the NBA season and offseason, from start to finish, is a lot more entertaining from an outside perspective's part. So for me, for instance, we just finished wrapping up the NBA Finals, where Toronto, got their first NBA championship. Kawhi Leonard, Finals MVP. Then he spirals that to be the last piece of NBA free agency in a span of what? A month? And in between, we have the draft, the combine, the start of free agency, hirings and firings, who's going to go where, the Woj bombs, everything and anything that is NBA specific has happened in the span since the finals ended in a 3-week to 1 month span. And that is why, in my opinion, the NBA offseason is better than any other professional league's offseason.
Facts. I mean, I would say, like, in the past, I probably like the MLB offseason better. Hear me out, okay?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Because I enjoyed the winter meetings. I remember when I was younger, I would sit down in front of the TV in the winter meetings, and they would show, the guys talking at the hotel where all the GMs are meeting up at, talking trades, talking free agent signings. And it was kind of like what the NBA is now. It was like one thing after another. Boom, this guy signed for $100 million. This guy signed for $80 million. This guy signed for $150 million. But baseball has slowed down when it comes to the free agency now. Right. And it probably has to do with the amount of money that these guys are demanding now. Like, for instance, Craig Kimbrell and Dallas Keuchel just signed recently in baseball. Right. Those are 2 all-stars. They signed in the middle of the season. And it's because they were holding out, waiting until they got the contract that they wanted.
Also, and for those who, we're not going to stay on baseball too long. I just want to preface that for people.
Yeah.
Also, they were attached with the qualifying offer. So basically, anyone who signed Keuchel and Kimbrell would have had to give up a first-round
draft pick. Yeah.
So that was probably the main reason why they were kind of left to dry for the first half of the Major League Baseball season, because people didn't want to pay a first round talent
for
potentially
those guys.
for those
Yeah.
two guys. But I get it.
But you're right. NBA now is a lot more exciting. Like we're this deep into the free agency, and Kawhi just drops this super bomb at like 1 o'clock in the morning, and not
Mhm.
only goes where he wants to, but he gets his Robin to him being Batman. He gets Paul George. What more can you ask for?
Well, if you're the Oklahoma City Thunder, you're kind of hoping you got more back in return aside from all those all those picks and whatnot. But
Because those the pick sounds like a lot, but if you think about it, the Clippers are going to be good.
mhm,
So they're all going to be late first round picks.
right,
Um, so it's really like early second round picks. So like they could be hit or miss.
right, and
So
the
I
other
think
picks,
they did a good job.
right, the other picks included in that, I believe, are my two Miami first rounds. So with the signing of Jimmy Butler, that might
They're
put them
going to be good
already.
too.
They're going to put them at least in a playoff positioning. So
Hmm.
that will be what, a 15,
15 or under.
15 or under. And then the rumor here is I was reading on Bleacher Report today is that Oklahoma City now is just tinkering with the thought of just blowing it all up, starting from scratch, doing the Sam Presti model of building through the draft. Because if we remember, that's how they were able to procure Westbrook, Harden, Durant, Adams, anyone who's been part of the Oklahoma City core for the most part. So now they're playing with the potential of starting over. So looking to move Westbrook, which we'll get to shortly,
Hmm.
looking to move Adams and just building around, young NBA ready talent and not really tanking, but in the small market of Oklahoma City, they've hit their peak. You know, I
They
don't
did.
I don't foresee free agents, and we'll talk about this too, free agents beating down the door to live in Oklahoma City. Paul George has wanted to go to LA since he demanded a trade from Indiana a couple of years ago.
Hmm.
He managed to be coaxed into staying by talking to Russell Westbrook last season. But I think with anyone who plays with Westbrook, and I remember once I said on a broadcast that I would pick Westbrook over Steph Curry. I am now taking those words back. And that was about 3 years ago I said this, but Westbrook is slowly starting to hit that point of, can he be a good teammate? Can he play well with others, quote unquote? Because he's been so ball dominant for his entire career. Even when he had KD, even when he had James Harden, he was still balls to the wall, as you said off air, a ball dominant athletic point guard. And see Derrick Rose circa forever. Once you're an athletic point guard that loses their athleticism, you kind of fall off a cliff.
I
So
mean, yeah,
go
you
ahead.
fall off a little bit, but Westbrook's still a beast. I mean, the guy just averaged a triple double again last year. He's still an animal, and I feel like he's always gone ball to the wall in OKC because he felt like he had to. But if he ends up going somewhere where he'll have help,
Mm-hmm.
um, I think you'll see a better side of Russell Westbrook. I don't think you'll see that Russell Westbrook taking those crazy shots just because he's forced to.
Right.
And you're right. I think it is time for OKC to just start fresh. And what you're saying about the free agency, you're 100%. No one's gonna want to say, "Ooh, I want to go to OKC," because
Mm-hmm.
they had those guys. All those guys they had, they built through the draft.
Yes.
They got Westbrook, Adams, KD, Harden, all through the draft. None of them were big free agent signings,
Right.
besides Paul George, which obviously didn't last long.
Right. And
So
and
it
then they
is
made
time to
that
start all
trade.
over,
Mm-hmm.
stack up on free agents and young assets,
Young
and they'll
assets.
be
Mhm.
fine.
I think, especially with who they have in the brain trust, Sam Presti has been known to be
Hmm.
a patient GM. I don't foresee him getting fired anytime soon because if you're going to start from scratch, you want someone who has the long term vision to say, okay, let's hit the reset button. We know this is as far as we're going to go with Westbrook and potentially Paul George. They really couldn't swing a trade for another superstar. They tried briefly with Carmelo before the wheels fell off, and that didn't go too well. So, as we just said, bringing, and we'll touch on this too, bringing a mega talent to a small market, like just what happened with the Toronto Raptors, for instance.
Yeah.
That is not a recipe for success long term for free agency, unless your culture is so amazing, your state of the art commitment to the athlete is so amazing. I don't foresee people beating down the door to go to Toronto, to go to Oklahoma City, and the like. I mean, think about NBA free agency now. Look at where everybody went. aside from New York, sorry, Brooklyn. I don't know if I count Brooklyn in this whole situation, but LA. Who do they have now? Boogie. The Lakers have Boogie, Anthony
Which I love
Davis,
that pickup.
until
I
he blows
love.
out his other ACL. But that's neither here nor
No,
there.
I think he's gonna be fine, man. Because they got so much. They got quite a bit of talent over there that he doesn't have to do that much. So hopefully he can stay healthy. I like the guy.
So let's hit our own reset here on the Damian G Show. Let's
Mhm.
start with winners of free agency. Who are your winners?
My number one winner,
Yes.
Utah Jazz.
Really?
Utah Jazz. I love what they did in the free agency. They got the guys that fit there. Every guy they got Mike Conley.
Mm-hmm.
I love the trade for Mike Conley. I think he's a perfect point guard over there. He fits their system perfectly. Kyle Korver, come off the
Yeah.
bench, 3-point shooter.
Wait, did they sign him after he was bought out?
Yeah, he's on their roster.
Okay.
Bogdanovich, love
I love
Bogdanovich.
Bogdanovich.
Bogdanovich with Joe Ingles is, I think they're perfect together. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
Jeff Green. I don't see. I saw a tweet from Dwayne Wade saying that he doesn't get why Jeff Green keeps signing these 1 year veteran minimum contracts. Jeff Green's been so consistent the past 5 years as an off the bench slash spot starter for a team for like Washington. I think he was in Miami for a little bit. He's 6'9", could shoot the three, could drive, could post. He does everything.
Right.
Emmanuel Mudiay.
I'm
They signed
annoyed that
Emmanuel
the
Mudiay.
Knicks let him go.
He did great for us. He did great for us, and he's now Utah's backup point guard to Mike Conley Jr.
Oh,
to
and
go together with Derek Favors and Rudy Gobert. I mean, they got a nice squad. I think they're going to be up in the top four in the West.
and just for clarity's sake, I'm looking online now. Kyle Korver was traded to Memphis in the
Oh, he
Conley deal,
was.
so he is no longer
Oh, he's no
on the
longer there.
roster.
Okay,
And then
jeez,
he
poor
was
guy.
traded to Phoenix, and now Phoenix is going to buy him out because
He'll end up with the Lakers.
probably because his best years came with LeBron as like his running mate. So
Yep.
okay, so
But still, they got Conley, Bogdanovich, Jeff Green, and Moody. I like what they did this off season.
and they got rid of Rubio, which I like Ricky Rubio
I
for
like
what he
Ricky
is.
Rubio.
For
I
what
hope
he
he kills
is,
it in Phoenix. I hope he kills it in Phoenix. But
you
they
know.
definitely got to upgrade with Conley.
Yes, agreed. All right, who else aside from Utah?
Utah, the Clippers, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Clippers beat out the Lakers with the Lakers getting Anthony Davis. I think the Clippers beat out Brooklyn with getting KD and Kyrie. KD and Kyrie is good, but the still question mark is how good KD is going to be when he comes back. Is he
And
still going to be the same guy, or is he just going to be a big man shooting threes?
it worked for Dirk for so many years.
I I, I know, but part of the reason why KD is KD, and part of the reason why he's getting 35 million is not just because of his shooting ability. It's because he can do it all.
Mm-hmm.
So he still got that question mark. I hope he comes back the same, but you still got that question mark of KD. So
Of
my
course.
two winners is the Jazz and the Clippers.
Okay. The Clippers, notwithstanding, I think you feel the team, and all you really gave up was what? What's his face?
They gave
Gallinari and
up
who
the
else?
Gallinari. They got
Mm-hmm.
that good young point. I mean, everyone loved him. I saw the kid play a lot last year because I watched a lot of Clippers games because it
Mm-hmm.
was so exciting. But that Alexander kid, the point
Yes.
guard,
Mm-hmm.
they traded him and 5 first-round picks.
Oof.
Oof,
Oof. That
oof.
that just made
But
me that just made me sick to my stomach.
you got to do it, man. You got Kawhi, you got George. I love that they kept Patrick Beverly. Patrick Beverly is so freaking underrated. I love that dude. He pisses off every point guard in the league, and you got to have a scrappy guy like that on the team. A dude that no one talks about, Montrezl Harrell.
Okay.
They still got him. He was a double double machine, off the bench for them, and I think they're not done. I could see a good, solid, cheap center fit for them. Dwight
Okay.
Howard's going to be out there as a free agent.
Wasn't he
He
just
just
traded
got
again?
he was just traded, okay, and they're gonna release him.
Mm-hmm.
So he's gonna make a solid, good, cheap. Whoever he signs with, he's gonna sign for the 1 year veteran minimum. I can see him going with the Clippers and He doesn't have to do too much. Just go out there and average 10 and 10.
Mhm.
Let's get us 10 and 10. That's it.
Yeah. 5 draft picks. The trade is Paul George, 5 draft picks, Danilo Gallinari, and Shai Alexander. That's the point guard you're
Yes.
talking about. Yes.
Yep. So Clippers and Jazz clearly want to win the season. What about you? Who are you thinking?
Uh, I
Oh, I'm
like you.
sorry. I got one more. I'm
Who?
sorry. I got to give props to Golden State. They
For
didn't
for
lose KD
what?
for nothing. They didn't lose KD for nothing. They got D'Angelo Russell out of it.
Uh, I don't think he's a cornerstone. I'm sorry. He might have been an all-star on a six
He's
seeded
not.
a six
He's
seeded
not.
I'm
But
gonna call him Jersey Brooklyn team. Eh,
he's not a third. He's not a very bad. He's not a bad third option for them
well, he's gonna be a second while Clay rehabs.
until Clay comes back. But when he comes back, he's going to be the third option, and he's not a bad third option to have on the team. He's still very young. So, and
Un-
hopefully, him being around guys like Clay and Steph, he'll be more conservative, and they could check him.
I think
But
there's a
they
world where Golden State doesn't make the playoffs next year.
it could happen. I like another move they did. They picked up Willie Cauley-Stein from Sacramento, young center. He had a good
Mm.
year, and they got him for the veteran minimum. Um, if Clay comes back, I guess if Clay comes back, they'll make the playoffs,
Or they'll just sit him out the entire year and let him rehab his ACL.
which I think they should do.
Hmm.
Um, I
I,
think they should do it. But if he
I
comes
think
back, I say they make the playoffs.
trading Iguodala, even though people say, well, he doesn't really do much. No, if you really follow the uprising of the Golden State Warriors, Andre Iguodala probably was the biggest and greatest glue guy for that team's success. Yeah, you had the talent of offensive players, the Currys, the Clays, the KDs of the world, but you still need that. You know how Ron Harper was good for the Bulls
Yeah,
back in like their last run. Wasn't glamorous. What former 20-point a game scorer settles into that role of seventh guy off the bench, sixth guy off the bench, but does so much more. I think that right there is a telling sign of them
man.
not really hitting the reset button, but they're not blowing it up because they still have Steph, and when Clay comes back, that
But
is a lethal
and,
combination.
but the fact what hurts more is the fact that not only do they trade Iguodala, but they gave the team that they traded him to. Was it Memphis?
Yes,
They gave Memphis draft picks to take him.
that's stupid.
They gave him like 2 or 3 draft picks. So not only did Memphis get Iguodala, but they got like 2 or 3 draft picks.
But then again, those draft picks, are they going to be worth anything if you make the playoffs as a 7 seed? What is that, a 16, 17?
Um,
So,
no, there won't be much. It's just the fact that and
yeah.
I get it. They had to clear the salary cap to be able to afford D'Angelo Russell. I'm with them on that. You don't want to lose KD for nothing, and at least they got something in return. Right when it was going to look like they were going to lose him for nothing, they
Mhm.
got something in return. So you got to give them props for that.
Okay. I mean, that's fine. For me, my winners, I honestly, I think if we were talking about this after or before the Kyrie thing, please. I don't even like those Nets moves, to be quite honest with you, but
Me either.
I think it's just all for show. And yes, Kyrie's going to be great for what he does. The Nets were a scrappy 6 seed. I gave them credit for actually making the playoffs. But if Brooklyn is holding their breath that Kyrie without KD this year is going to lead them to anything, as evidenced in Boston, it's
No,
not going to end well for them. But
they're gonna be a 6-7 seed again
probably until KD comes back,
until KD comes back.
then they'll be probably top 3 in the East. But
Hmm.
if he comes back at full strength, I do like Utah's moves now that you brought them up. I didn't like the Conley move in a vacuum. I didn't think it was. It was good. They needed to upgrade their point guard spot, and Quinn Snyder doesn't get enough credit
No,
for the coaching he's done. I liked him in college when he coached Missouri. I like him now because this is the type of team where someone like Quinn Snyder, who may not have been a sexy name, a sexy coaching hire when Utah brought him on, but he fits the Jazz culture. And I think he's one of those coaches that can maximize a player's talents. I mean, think about Rudy Gobert. A couple years before he became the Stifle Tower, people were essentially pooping on him just because he was a 7-foot stiff.
Yep.
And now he's a double machine, a modern day Mutombo.
Defensive Player of the Year.
Mm-hmm. So I like what the Jazz are doing. I don't put them in the top 3 in the West yet. I think they can make top 4.
Top 4.
The West is going to be fun as it always is.
Oh,
I think it's a lot more fun, obviously, than the East, because the Eastern Conference is always a trudge for those first 2 rounds, and then you get to the conference, the conference finals, and then you're thinking, okay, now I'm interested. I think I think the biggest winner here is Kawhi, because he was able to poach. He was able to poach Paul George, the perpetual second banana, to join him in Clipperland and to go head to head with LeBron. Think about it this way. You have Anthony Davis, who's an all-world talent with the Lakers, and LeBron, right? So it's almost like looking in Bizarro world where you have quiet LeBron and Kawhi Leonard, Kawhi Leonard, sorry. I was thinking about the San Antonio Spurs.
Which, by the way, did you see yesterday that clip of LeBron James and Anthony Davis confronting Jerry West during the Summer League game?
Oh, I didn't see that, no.
They confronted Jerry West for snatching Kawhi Leonard from them.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
And he's just sitting there laughing.
I was going to say,
love that.
For my losers, I was going to say the New York Knicks, but they're not for me. When they realized they weren't going to go get their top tier free agents, they could have panicked and got a whole bunch of B-level free agents like
they normally do.
Like they normally do when they brought over Stoudemire back then. What was what they call it, MTA? It was like Stoudemire, Melo, and Tyson Chandler.
Yes, man.
But Julius Randle on a 3-year deal.
I love it.
I like that move. I know you don't like the Taj Gibson move, but you had to have someone market rate who can average a double-double like Charles Oakley back when we were younger.
But they got him. They signed Bobby Portis.
No, I do not put Bobby Portis in that realm.
Bobby Portis averaged a double-double the last 2 years.
He's better off punching his teammates in the face.
He looked great when he went to Washington last year. He was averaging 15 and 10.
Look at what you just said. Look what you just said. He went to Washington, and they didn't make the playoffs with Bradley Beal.
You had John Wall out, man.
I don't like that pickup. I really don't. I actually do like the Taj pickup. I don't like it for the numbers, the money, but I like the overall pickup.
I like him. I don't have a problem with him.
Yeah,
I don't like him for
it's
$10
the money
million a year. Yeah, whenever I see someone like Marcus Morris yesterday signed for 2 years, $20 million with Spurs, I'd rather have him. I'd rather have Marcus Morris.
But that's a Spurs move. That's a typical Spurs move.
I would have rather had Boogie Cousins. He signed for the veterans minimum for 1 year. Give me that. Okay, not Taj Gibson for 2 years, $10 million a year.
But you're also forgetting no one wants to come to New York and play for the Knicks.
Yeah, I know, but if you would have sat with Boogie Cousins and be like, "Look, bro, we all know what you need. All right, you missed out on hundreds of millions of dollars because of an injury. It was a freak injury on your free agent year. Come to New York, pad your stats, and get that contract that you want."
Or I could take the veterans minimum, play with LeBron and Anthony Davis, make the playoffs, and potentially springboard that to be a second banana, like a Paul George type, and getting Paul George type money, being a second banana. Sure. Yeah, the choice is obvious. I'm not coming to the Knicks. As a Knicks fan, and I'm a diehard. Back in the 90s, I grew up with it, with Oakley, Ewing, Starks, and all them boys. Mm-hmm. I grew up with that.
I grew up with that too.
But these are not our Knicks anymore. These are not your daddy's Knicks fans kind of thing. This is no longer the Isaiah Thomas Knicks. We're going to invest in young talent, bring in some veterans that could actually contribute, looking at you, Lance Thomas, and actually do something on the team. And if the Knicks happen to be the 8th seed or the 7th seed with a ragtag bunch of players and young folk, and I know you're willing to trade everybody except Mitchell and RJ for Russell Westbrook, and I would caution that
everyone's on the trading block. If you have a shot to get Westbrook, everyone's on the block except Mitchell Robinson and Bear.
But to
Everybody.
do what? To be the perpetual sixth seed in the Eastern Conference?
Yeah, that'll be now. Okay, of course. Then he's not gonna like springboard them to a top three team in the East. I
So
get,
why
I know
bother?
that,
Why bother?
but you do it because he's still under contract for 4 more years. Okay, then now you have a piece. Now you have a piece where to go along with Barrett and Mitchell Robinson, who I believe both are gonna be studs
Mm-hmm.
in free agency in 2 years when they're set up because they only signed 2 year deals besides Julius Randle's contract. In 2 years when the free agent market starts again and they have room for another max player, say, hey, we got Westbrook, we got RJ Barrett, we got Mitchell Robinson. You're the final piece. Let's go. But you don't have nothing to say that right now. Everyone is pairing up with somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And as much as people say people don't like to play with Westbrook, all right, whatever. He's a superstar. Okay. He's gonna draw someone. He's gonna draw a name. But
Mm-hmm.
right now, you can't go into free agency and say, "Hey, would you like to come play with Kevin Knox?" Great, he's a good young player, but he's
No,
not going to draw any attention.
no.
Okay, Frank Nicolita is not going to draw any attention. You need a name. This is the Knicks. You need a name in there. You need a name that you could bring into that office and say, "Hey, come play with me."
But nobody wanted to. That's the problem. That tells you enough right there where the New York Knicks are not someone worth actually
Yeah,
gravitating.
no, yeah, no
So,
one wanted to now. Okay, all right. Let's say if let's say if Porzingis would have stayed, a superstar would have ended up with the Knicks because they had a superstar in Porzingis. Okay, but they went into free agency saying, "Hey, we have Mitchell Robinson. You want to come play with him?" Those are young guys. Ain't no one's out there gonna be like, "Yes, I want to go play with the Knicks right now. Please sign me."
mhm,
Nobody. So that's why you got to trade. If Russell Westbrook is available, you do it.
yeah.
You do it because it gives you that guy to dangle in front of other free agents. Come play with Russell Westbrook. Plus these young pieces that have
And
developed.
nobody wants to play with Westbrook. We're forgetting that. People don't want to play with Westbrook. No, I love Russell Westbrook. I love the tenacity he brings to the court. I am not gambling my long-term NBA team future on a 30-year-old point guard who's going to be on the downside of his career by the time that contract really is, by the time it's done when he's 34 and can't jump how he jumps and can't go 3 billion miles an hour, and you're paying him 35-40 million dollars a season.
I mean, but if you're the Knicks, what do you do?
You be patient, you wait, you
Be
build
patient for
through the
what? For
draft,
two. All right, you build through the draft, but what do? You got to bring a star in. You can't just. You're not going to win just with
you
your
make
young
one.
guys. You got to. All right,
Again, you're over here.
easier said.
You're telling me about
Easier said than
RJ
done.
and Mitchell. You're telling me about RJ and Mitchell, right? Those are two
I think they're going to be
cornerstones for
studs.
you.
They're going
So
to be studs
why not wait another year and see if they turn into studs, and then you can entice
because
people that way because they're still on manageable contracts.
if Nick fans, including me, are holding
Hmm.
our breath on trying to get Giannis Antetokounmpo, and I
I'm
know
not
it's
holding my
butcher's
breath.
name, that ain't gonna happen, guys. It's not gonna happen. So if there's a star out there that we can get and is available, and he's willing to come here, we gotta do it.
Nah, I think you and I will agree to disagree on that. I like
Yeah,
once the
as long
Knicks
as we keep,
realize.
as
Once the
long
Knicks
as we keep Barrett and Mitchell, of course. I don't
Well, I'm
want to
still
trade
not
those
even
guys.
sold on RJ, but that's just me. I'm not fully sold on any of the Knicks pieces except for probably Julius Randle and Mitchell Robinson. But
I
other
love
than
Julius Randle.
yeah, I think last year playing with that Anthony Davis shadow luring over the team, it was a pretty good showing for him. He bet on himself, got that 1 year deal, that 9 million, and now he parlayed that into a bigger contract. I think he's probably one of the biggest winners because now he gets to be the 2010 guy in a New York Knicks team by
Yeah, I mean,
himself.
people are saying he's just a consolation prize. The kid averaged what 22 and 9 off the bench last year. He's only 22 years old. I think that's a little bit more of a consolation. I think if he wasn't in the same free agent class as Durant and Kawhi and all these guys, it would have been a bigger deal than what people are making it seem. Julius Randle.
Mhm.
He just got overshadowed by the bigger stars being a free agent at the same time as him.
Again, this is actually right in line with what the Knicks are trying to do. He's 24 years old, a former lottery pick, the 7th overall pick in the 2014 draft. So it fits the mold of what the Knicks are trying to do. Accumulate good young talent, seeing what sticks like they did last year, even though the team only won 17 games, growing pains, and then seeing what works and what doesn't. If it doesn't work, you either let them walk, you don't overpay, or you use them as parts in a trade. When they traded Trey Burke, they let Moutier go this year. They still got Alonzo Trier, which I like him off the
I like
bench.
him. I like him.
You know,
But Moutier, I think we got the better version of him though, because I like the Alfred Payton signing.
you know what's funny about Alfred Payton? He Fournier came out too early, but you can't fault him for that. I don't think he's had a coach really walk him through what he's supposed to be in the NBA.
Mhm.
They're still trying him as this. It's sort of like the Dante Exum thing in Utah. People are still trying to get him to be this point guard because he has size, instead of making him a combo forward. Like, I think what the Knicks want to do with Ntilikina, and if they don't do it with him, they'll trade him to someone who wants to make Ntilikina a combo forward, which I see once Klay Thompson comes back. He's probably going to move into that small forward,
Yeah.
vibe next to D'Angelo and
He,
Steph.
he got the size for it and the defense for it, so he
Right.
could do it.
So Julius Randle, I think, fits what the Knicks are trying to accomplish. Good mix of veterans and young players. They could sneak in as a 7th or 8th seed. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
I think they can.
Or they could literally be in the lottery again and then see what works. I think the problem here is that the New York sports fan, and we've been guilty about this as New York sports fans, we're not patient. We want win now because we're New York, win now. And then everybody compares it to the Yankees. And then I always say, wait, basketball has a salary cap. Baseball does not. So you can't say be like the Yankees when off the bat.
There's patience, but if there's patience, and then we haven't been good since '99, 2000. So I mean, I get both sides. Yeah,
but
be
think
patient.
of the management that's
but
been
it's
there.
been a long time. Oh my god. Oh, I don't want to think about them again.
Exactly.
Don't
That's why I'm
don't
okay
remind
with
me.
that.
Don't remind me of Isaiah Thomas.
Actually, that's a good segue point because we're talking about Isaiah Thomas here on the Damian G Show. You mentioned off air one of Isaiah Thomas's formerly bad moves that was thought good as the time, I should say, was the Eddie Curry move when Isaiah signed Eddie Curry or traded for Eddie Curry. And now you're worried that a potential NBA rookie or superstar in waiting, I should say, might be suffering from the Eddie Curry syndrome potentially. Would you like to let the crowd know who we're referencing?
Yes. Probably get some heat for this. And I don't want to sound like the heartbroken Knick fan that wanted Zion didn't get him. It's not that, because I felt this way before we even knew if we were going to get him or not. But Zion Williamson is a stud. I watched the summer league game the other day. He looked great, but he got gassed. He got gassed very quickly. Right. He's out of shape. He's completely out of shape. Right. And I think that's why they really took him out of the game. It wasn't no knee bump. I think they took him out of the game because they noticed he was out of shape, and they didn't want the media to be all over it. You know what I mean? Like, oh my God, Zion Williamson, #1 pick. Completely out of shape. Can't hang. That type of thing. So I think they did it to protect him. If this kid doesn't hit the gym, his body type is he's right there to where if he hits the gym, he could get cut. He could be an animal like LeBron for many, many years and last a long time.
Right.
Or if he gets lazy, eats too much Cajun food in New Orleans, too much gumbo, he could blow up and become the next Eddie Curry. He's got to take care of himself because it's a risk. He could get up there and weight. He's already 275, 280?
Right. And he's only 6'6"?
He could get up there. So you got to be careful. He's got to take care of his body.
So right now, look, think about what we're talking about now. We're literally discussing the #1 draft pick who everybody was tanking to get. And we're already, instead of talking about what he could bring to the team, we're worried about his weight. That's not good.
It's not. And the thing is, okay, it's obvious what he could bring to the team. Okay. But you gotta point that out before it gets out of control, because he was out of shape the other day. And I get he hasn't played in a while.
Yeah.
But you can still hit the gym.
Yeah, but basketball is a lot different.
Yeah, get your cardio up. You're the #1 pick. You gotta take care of yourself.
Time out. Wait a minute. Let me walk you through the mindset of someone who is kind of betting on themselves and doing it their way. If I'm Zion, right when the season ends, I just do enough where I don't get injured.
Yeah, of
I just
course.
do enough where I don't have to stress my body out. My name is enough. My game is enough. You've seen it on tape.
Absolutely.
Why would I be killing myself before the draft to get drafted and right before summer league, months before the season starts, and risk blowing out an ACL, blowing out an Achilles tendon?
You don't. You don't. You
So
take it.
obviously, he's going to carry a little bit more punch. You're right. It's something to be aware of. But whether or not it's going to mean he's going to be fat, I think right now he's playing it right. I don't want him to become Jaleel Okafor. I'll say that much. Even though lately Jaleel's been killing it in the gym,
Yeah,
because
he's
he
been doing
realized,
good.
oh crap, I actually have to take care of myself. Great. But if right now, if we're talking about Zion's weight more so than his nimble footwork, his ability to use both hands, how he has ginormous wingspan, we're focusing on the weight. And I get it. That is a pause for concern. But I don't think we're at that point yet where he's going to be Oliver Miller, the former Phoenix.
Oh no. We're nowhere near that point. I'm just saying, like in the future, it could get out of control.
Right.
Like he's got to take care of himself. I'm not saying there's a cause for concern now. I'm just saying you gotta. That's something that you gotta look out for before it does get out of control. Because I'm sure guys like Eddie Curry and them, before they got the big contract, no one was even thinking about that. Oh, he's fine. He's averaging 20 and 10. He's doing just fine.
Of course.
Then he just walks in and one day and he's like, huh, he looks different.
He eats donuts.
What's going on here? Wait a minute. And then it's too late because you gave him my $80 million. All right. So
Uh-huh.
I'm just saying it take slow precaution now so
Mhm.
he doesn't get out of control in the future because he can get there just because his body type. That's all it is. It's
I
just because his
understand.
body type. He's right there. So you just got to keep a close eye on that.
He could either be Charles Barkley, LeBron James, or Anthony Bennett. One of the three.
Yes. And you don't want to be Anthony Bennett.
The
I'll
word
take Barkley.
I don't know which is the worst number one draft pick, Anthony Bennett or Michael Olowokandi. I don't know which one's worse.
I say Anthony Bennett. I say Anthony Bennett because at least Olowokandi had a couple of years where he averaged double figures in points and double figures in rebounds.
Well, when you're 7 feet tall, if you can't do that, that's a problem.
Yeah, I get that, but I say Bennett because who even had him at projected to go number one anyway?
No one did.
Nobody did, and that's why he's the worst first pick of all time. Like,
Good job, Cleveland.
what was that?
Good job. Good job. Good job, Cleveland. Okay, so I'm in the chat right now, and Mass Fan is telling me about the NBA lottery. He said the worst team should get the first pick, not a team just missing the playoffs and getting the first pick every year. So
I 1,000,000% agree. Thank you.
So
Thank you.
let me ask this question. You know how in football it's hard to tank on purpose because you're putting your body on the line?
Yeah, I get the tanking in basketball.
Exactly. Because remember when San Antonio, stunk up the joint that one year and they just happened to get Tim Duncan? So just imagine if there was no lottery and everybody and their mom is trying to win one game while still making a profit in the NBA, even if you have a losing team. You have to have some sort of system in place where just because you suck doesn't mean you automatically are going to get the first pick, because then everybody's going to be sucking to get the first pick.
You got a point. It's true. I mean, I feel like the Knicks tanked last year. I think they did. They tried their hardest to tank, and I'm not gonna say it backfired because I'm happy with RJ Barrett. I'm not gonna say it backfired. I'm happy with RJ Barrett.
Would you have rather taken Ja than RJ if you had the chance?
Ja Morant?
Yeah.
I would have taken Ja Morant.
Okay. So where the Knicks were as third in the lottery, you're okay with them taking RJ and not lamenting on, oh, well, we should have gotten this person. They should have gotten that person.
I'm okay with taking RJ Barrett.
Okay.
Because I think all three top guys are going to be studs. I don't see a problem with any three of them. Of course, some are better than the others. Time will tell. But I'm happy right now with RJ Barrett. I got a little scared as a Knicks fan because I kept on reading rumors how they were looking at a couple other guys that were projected to go lower in the draft to draft at number 3. I'm like, oh, we're about to do something stupid like the Knicks normally do and skip on RJ Barrett. But I'm happy with Barrett. I think he's going to be a solid 20-point per game guy.
Well, okay, so back in the chat, Mass Fan said, then if that's the case, take the worst 5 teams and let them draw for the first pick. Now, that is something I can get with. The worst 5, I guess the worst 5 average, and you can have 4,000 tiebreakers. It's fine.
Yeah. And I feel like, yeah, I agree. And I feel like those teams deserve a better chance at the top pick. I mean, I feel like the odds aren't really much in their favor for being the worst teams in the league right now.
It's essentially taking the lottery system and eliminating the people that just barely missed the playoffs and not having them in the discussion.
Yeah,
I
I
honestly
agree.
think you take anyone who's got the 10% to 15% or higher, you can include them. But the people that like 1%, 1.5%
You're out.
the first pick,
You're out. You
automatically
get
out.
no shot.
You
Yeah.
get no shot.
Yeah. You're a playoff team. Get the hell out of here. You don't deserve a top 5 pick. Yeah.
So
I
I
agree.
think that's a great selling point to kind
It
of
is.
revamp the lottery.
Yeah. Thank you, Mav guy, even though you took Porzingis from us.
First off, you don't play. Don't say us. You don't play. You know,
Look, man, I'm that fan. I say us.
I
You know why I
know,
say
but
us?
I have to correct y'all. I'm sorry. I have to.
Because I spend money on them. I spend time and my misery. Okay.
Sounds like a bad
So
relationship.
that's why I'm gonna say us. Okay.
That's a bad relationship waiting to happen.
Yeah, I've been stressed out all my life as a Knicks fan and a Jets fan. Okay,
Oof.
so yeah, I'm gonna say us. Okay.
Okay. As a Knicks fan, as a Mets fan, I can commiserate as a New York Mets fan. I've always been that Mets fan, but I realized my
Thank God I got the
fandom.
Yankees.
I realized from my fandom it kind of changed when the Mets made the World Series a couple of years back against the Royals, and I didn't care that they lost. That's
Because
when
you
I realized my
expected it.
fandom changed. No, not even that. It didn't affect me either way. It did not. The last time I cried over a sports team not winning a championship was 1994 when the Rockets beat the Knicks.
Oh, I cried. You want to know when's the last time I cried? I cried in 2001 when the Yankees lost to the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Why?
Because it was such a good series. We kept, if you remember that series, we kept on like coming back in the end, hitting a game tying home run in the 9th inning, then winning it in extra innings.
Yes.
And then, Mariano Rivera on the mound to clinch it and win it. And he gives up that game winning hit to Luis Gonzalez, which I still blame Derek Jeter for to this day.
Because he had no range at shortstop?
Well, no, because if I don't know if you remember, go back on YouTube and look it up. It was a little blooper to shortstop. Well, probably blame management for calling the infield in on Luis Gonzalez for some fucking reason. Call the infield in, so it's a little blooper to shortstop. If Jeter was in his normal position, he would have caught that, and the game would have been over.
Well, I can see why that's the last time you cried because
I cried.
I cried. Famer Mariano Rivera. I understand that.
Yeah, we had it. So yeah, I cried.
Okay. Well,
so
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say we've covered winners and losers here on the Damian G Show with the NBA soap opera, which I love. Let's talk about something really fast before we get out of here in regards to the narrative with players dictating where they go, as opposed to, we talk about ownership and collusion in other sports and, hey, don't sign this guy, sign here. Don't sign this guy. He's got a bad attitude. We've seen it in wrestling where the rumor was for a while, Andrade was telling Roosh not to sign with WWE because he was miserable. And then Roosh goes and signs with Ring of Honor. Mm-hmm. So there's always been collusion amongst ownership, allegedly. But now that players can dictate, no, I want to play here. I don't want to be part of a losing team. It's not about the money anymore. Like initially, yes, you get paid. But after you sign that contract, they're being a little bit more vocal, saying, hey, if you're not committed to building a winning team, get me out of here because you're wasting my career. I'm a commodity that your organization is taking advantage of, even though you're paying me handsomely to do so. I get to choose now where I go, and I want to play with people that can make this work. So I don't blame. And this all started with the big three. Let's be honest here. This all started with LeBron taking his talents
Wade,
to
and Bosh.
So now that players are dictating in the NBA more so where they go, do we see this happening in other sports now, or is this strictly something that the NBA can only institute?
Um, I can see it happening in football. I really can't see it happening in baseball. And the reason being in baseball is because the contracts are so much more ridiculous over there.
Mhm.
That it's not as easy as, okay, cool. I'll trade your $120 million contract to the team that you want. You know
Right.
what I mean? Um, it's very tough. I mean, I can see where in other sports, like two guys that are free agents at the same time, like, hey, let's go here together. I can see
Mhm.
that. But as far as demanding trades and hey, I want you to trade me here, I can't really see that happening in other sports besides basketball. It just seems a little bit easier in basketball to facilitate than it would be on the other sports.
Okay. I was just curious because I like the direction of the players having direction of their careers as opposed
I
to
I love
just
it.
having the contract.
I love it. The only ones I don't love is the guys that they ink a big fat deal, and
And then
make a
they
big
get
deal
fat.
out of it, and then they're whining 6 months into the contract like I want out, or a year into the contract. They're not being loyal and they already want out. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Now we're not behind closed doors, so we don't know if the GMs are saying, "Man, sign with us, and we guarantee we'll have another All Star work playing with you within the next year." You
Mhm.
know, if that's the case, then I mean, also I like it, but I just don't like those guys that sign the big contracts and want to dip right off the bat.
Okay. That's fair. No, and I was just curious because you and I kind of fall on that line that we're pro player in terms of maximizing,
Hmm.
not even just maximizing dollars, maximizing career outputs, betting on yourself. We talk about that all the time in the realm of professional wrestling, of all things. So now you see it more in sports where the players have more power and ownership is kind of bending to the whims of these players because you don't want to be left holding the bag with nothing.
You don't.
In terms of like, oh, well, for instance, like you said, the KD deal, now that they didn't want to have him for nothing, they didn't want to lose him for anything. So them getting D'Angelo Russell back is
It's a
kind
big
of their
win
saving grace. Yes, they could tell their ticket holders, hey, we got back a former all-star,
because
right?
even if they don't keep him, at least they got another piece that they could trade for other pieces.
Right.
So it was a win for them. That losing KD was a win for them because they're going to lose him for nothing anyway. So why
Yeah,
not get D'Angelo Russell?
yeah, D'Angelo Russell. Okay, so in the before we get out of here, again, a Mask fan brings up a good point. Football keeps control of the players using the franchise tag.
Yep. I
That
hate the franchise tag.
well, I think in that sport, the franchise tag is necessary by the owners because but there's already that built in. The contracts aren't guaranteed. That's why I feel that the franchise tag, it's sort of like a cap hold. You renounce the rights to a free agent if you
Hmm.
just want to open up that salary cap space. It's basically making you a restricted free agent, the offer sheet. I like that. It does give the team a little bit of leeway to say, okay, you don't want to play here. We'll put the tag on you, but we promise. See, and this is where they go wrong. Instead of working out a long-term solution, i.e., we'll trade you, i.e., this is the plan. There's a lot of behind closed doors meetings that we're not privy to. That's where the backhanded stuff always happens. And that's why I'm very grateful for someone like, and I'll switch gears really quick. Le'Veon Bell said, I'm not signing it. I'm done. I'm good. I can sit out a year. I'll be,
Welcome to New York, bro.
yeah, well, he's going to the Jets. I don't know about all that.
I
But
like it.
yeah, as a Jets fan, I know you will. But this is what I mean by power to the players. I think the NBA going forward in the next 10 years has the potential. They are firmly entrenched, I think, as the number 2 sports league in America. Some would still say baseball is top in the top 2. I don't agree.
Hmm.
I just don't see the viewership for baseball like that. But give it 10 years. More stuff happens with concussions. More stuff happens with on-field injuries with the NFL. Lack of guaranteed contracts. The NBA is more global. I feel that NBA basketball can turn into what soccer is worldwide. Hear me out on this. How soccer is all over the world except for America. I can see the NBA bridging that gap and being big in America and other countries and being a global sport, not just an American sport.
Hmm.
Football can't do that. I'm sorry. American football cannot do that. They
No,
tried with the World League. They tried with NFL Europe. It just doesn't hold water overseas for some reason.
no, it doesn't. You see the basketball, you got the Olympics, you
Mhm.
know,
World
you got the
championships.
yeah. I mean, you got all that stuff going on to to show the talent out there in the world. You don't have that going on in football, so you're
Mhm.
100% right.
So I think in 10 years, if not sooner, the basketball becomes a bigger global entity. And I like where it's going. Because think about it like this.
I
If
do too.
if
With the players doing what they're doing right now, it's become a lot more entertaining anyway.
Well, that's how I started the show. I started the show
Yeah.
saying it's like a soap opera in
Mhm.
that 1 month span between when the finals ended to free agency, it's been nonstop entertainment just from a soap opera perspective. And now that the drafts happen and now that free agency is going to wrap up, now what do we have next? The World Championships,
Mhm.
the FIBA World Championships. I like watching international basketball
Oh, I
because
love it.
and I'm gonna say this, and people might call me un-American. That's fine. I don't care. I kind of like remember when Dream Team whatever went over and got sixth place in the World Championships because they figured, oh, we're just gonna throw anybody together from the NBA and they can beat anyone from all over the world, and they wound
Yep.
up finishing sixth. I
They
like when the American basketball players go over and realize, shit, we can't just show up like the Dream Team did.
they don't do that anymore.
Nope.
Have you noticed now the teams are stacked? They make sure they go over there with a stacked team.
Mhm.
They learned their lesson that year.
And that's why the Redeem Team was so important. That's why whenever Team America goes over there, they take international basketball players.
Yeah, they went over there with Chauncey Billups
Mhm.
and got that work.
Yep. So now we're going to see again with the World Championship. So again, the NBA basketball, the summer league, it stays on the public
Mhm.
consciousness. So we're invested long after free agency and the draft has ended. And once the season kicks back up again, we hit the cycle. We hit it right back again. And here we are talking again, probably another year later, about how the NBA offseason trumps everything else in terms of other sports off seasons. I know you say baseball's trade deadline's pretty good and the winter meetings is good, but I still think from a
They
social
were.
perspective,
They were. Not anymore. It sucks now.
so I
They
want
were.
to thank you for joining me on today's show. It's been a while
Thank you
since
for
I
having
cut
me.
my teeth on a sports topic. It's been a while. It's something I have near and dear to my heart because I often say basketball is one of the most artistic sports you could ever watch,
Mhm.
and it takes a lot more skill than people realize. It's not just I'm 7 feet, I can dunk a basketball. There's a lot of nuance involved in it, and the offseason itself just makes me laugh. So I appreciate Mr. Dude No Sports, aka Miguel. Where can people
Thank you.
find you on Twitter to see your hot takes?
At dudenosports.com. I don't post as much as I used to, but I'm gonna try to because work is always like right now I'm at work. Work is always killing me. So, but thanks for having me, Damian. It was awesome.
Of
Hopefully we can
course.
do this again. More
Well,
sports, more wrestling.
more sports, more wrestling, and more hot takes. I think that's what we can kind of work for. So for anyone who wants to find the show, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, wherever all of your favorite podcasts are located, I'm all over the place. You can find me on Twitter at DamianG347, also on Instagram. I'm open to all types of discussion. So hit me up in the DMs or hit me up here on YouTube on the stream. Thanks again for joining us, and I will see you next time. Peace, guys.